بالعالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين.
Thank you for that. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for joining us once again. This is MICA. MICA stands for Movement for Islamic Culture and Awareness. MICA was founded in June 1994 as a result of a direct resolution at Form 1 Youth Dinner to provide a safe space for young Muslims. Our vision is to see Muslims return to the state of Islamic excellence, and our mission is to create an awareness of Islam and impart Islamic culture and values on the Muslim for the improvement of contemporary society and in the cause of Allah. Some of what we offer at MICA is programs that feed the soul, a safe space, economic development, leadership and competency, capacity building, passion for the deen, positive social interactions. And in order to become a member of MICA, all you have to do is fill the membership form and pay a minimum of 5,000 contribution. I will now go ahead to introduce our speaker today. We have here with us Dr. MKO Balogun, who is a graduate of the Federal University of Technology, Owerri, Pan-Atlantic University, Walden University, and a honorary doctorate degree holder for the Commonwealth University. He has over 23 years working experience across various organizations, industry sector, and functions with a focus on facilities management. He has worked with several reputable companies from CFAO to UAC, GM, Leventis, Mr. Biggs. Dr. MKO is the MD CEO of Global Property and Facilities International Limited. As the MD CEO, he has grown the business from a local Nigerian company to a company spreading across Africa with operations across 5 African countries. He's married with children and passionate about sustainable as well as affordable living. I will now hand over to Mr. MKO Balogun to take us through this session.
Assalamu alaikum.
Over to you, sir. Wa alaikum salam.
Thank you very much for the introduction. I would go ahead to share my slides. It's a discussion. I'm not an expert in ethics. What I try to do is to look at the topic from 3 perspectives: the theoretical ethics perspective, the religious ethics perspective, and the business perspective of ethics, relating that to my experience in business and entrepreneurship. So what is ethics? Most scholars and writers have defined ethics as moral principles that govern a person's behavior or the conduct of an activity. Ethics is related to what is good or bad, having to do with moral duty and obligation. This is according to Webster's dictionary. Ethics can be defined as a critical, structured examination of how we should behave, in particular, how we should constrain the pursuit of self-interest when our actions affect others. This is very important, as we're going to see when we talk about business ethics. Business ethics can be defined as a critical, structured examination of how people and institutions should behave in the world of commerce. That's the qualification. General ethics is individual, but bringing individual into business. It's very important for us to understand the connection between the individual. And when I share my experience, some of my experiences, you will see the connection between how your individual understanding of what ethics is and who you are affects the way you operate in business ethics. Ethics in Islam. According to Bicom 1996, ethics related to Islam is kuluk. The word denotes a comprehensive term that covers the moral and the behavioral aspect of a person. As we said, moral is very critical when it comes to ethics. The Quran also describes the concept of goodness, righteousness, equity, equilibrium, justice, trust, rights, and known and approved. These are some of the concepts that Islam describes when it comes to ethics. Some non-Muslim views about Islam and ethics. A Chinese merchant was once quoted as saying, Muslims merchants come to me and ask me to put fake international labels and brands on their goods. When I invite them to eat, they refuse because they say the food is not halal. So if it is allowed for them to sell, is it allowed for them to sell fake goods? That's a question to ponder. Another non-Muslim, a Japanese Muslim said, actually this is a Muslim, I traveled to the West and saw Islam in practice, applied in the daily life of non-Muslim. I traveled to the East, I saw Islam, but did not see any Muslims. I thank Allah that I knew Islam before I knew how Muslims act. The Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was quoted as saying in one of the hadiths, verily the bankruptcy of my nation, the bankrupt of my nation are those who come on the day of resurrection with prayers, fasting, and charity, but also with insult, slander, consuming words, shedding and beating others. That means our moral values is critical, not just our religious fasting prayers, really as illustrated by the Holy Prophet. Two Quranic verses come to mind when we talk about ethics, among others. Ye are the best of people evolved for mankind, enjoying what is right and forbidding what is wrong, and believing in Allah. Quran chapter 3, verse 10. O ye who believe, be upright for Allah, bearers of witness with justice, and let not hatred of a people incite you not to act equitably. Act equitably that is nearer to piety, and be careful of your duty to Allah. Surely Allah is aware of what you do. Quran chapter 5, verse 8. These are some of the verses of Quran that enjoys moral uprightness, just equitably in society. What are the key principles that Islam talks about when it comes to business ethics? General ethical rules of business conduct must be agreed, and this is important. And Islam, clearly states some of the things. Some of the things I've seen is that Islam even defines how much we can earn on a transaction, identifies ethically desirable forms of business, and specifies the undesirable modes of transaction. So it's important for Muslims to understand that there are key principles that we need to follow when it comes to business. There are 10 business Islamic tenets that are connected to business ethics. Most times when we start business or we're in business or we're working, our understanding, our desire is always about earning more, making more money, increasing our wealth. But ethics in Islam says we must ensure that whatever we earn is allowed, is in line with what we work for. We must ensure our trade is mutual. We cannot force somebody to do business with us or hamstring somebody or deceive somebody. We must be very truthful in our business transaction. We must not offer what we are not, we must not lie about what we are offering in order to get business gain. Sales, marketing, advertising what is not correct that we see today. People selling luxury in designs, but when the buildings are delivered, they are not. That's not Islamic. Trustworthiness in business transactions. You must have a relationship that both parties believe and trust each other, and they believe that whatever they are going into is mutually beneficial. Generosity and leniency in business transactions. Forgiveness where a transaction doesn't go your way, or you find a situation where the profit that you expect did not make shouldn't be a problem for you and the person you're doing business with. Or you have provided resource for somebody to do business and the business did not go well, you shouldn't take it on the person. So you must be generous and be lenient as a Muslim business person. provision of sales of uncertainty and risk, which is what I've talked about. Lying about what we are saying, deceiving our buyers. This is un-Islamic, and this is not a principle of business ethics in Islam. Exploitation of one's ignorance of market conditions. I was talking at a conference recently, about 3-4 days ago, and I mentioned that most times you find people go into territories, and because there are no defined rules, there are no boundaries, there are no plans locally defined, they take advantage and create chaos at the end of the day. And this happens a lot in real estate and infrastructure development. And this is un-Islamic, and this is what this tenant is talking about: cheating and fraud in business transactions. Asking for bribe before you do, or deceiving somebody, lying about what you do, creating false pretense in order to get business gain is un-Islamic. Honoring and fulfilling business obligations is important no matter what happens, except the other person forgives you. If you have a business transaction and you are promised to deliver a profit or provide a good, and there are problems, you must make sure you are able to do that. Fair treatment of workers is very critical, which is part of what Islam says, fairness to others and fairness to people around us and close to us. Now, coming to personal experiences. In my tribe, as a Yoruba man, believe that your family name is very important in whatever you do in life. As an individual, you grow up in an environment, in a family, the way your parents has carried the name over time has a very important impact on the way you go forward. If somebody like you, they are somebody who is conscious. So as an individual, I come from a family where my father had been in politics, been in trade union, bringing so many businesses, and he has always been, very straightforward in whatever his dealings. I remember very vividly when the Buhari Diagbon came in the military and rounded up all political appointees, politicians who have served between 1977 and 1984. And he was one of the people arrested at that time. And everybody was asked to bring their record of stewardship. And he was one of the very first people to be let out, because there was nothing, after being chairman of the municipal government for 2 years, 77, 79, there was nothing found wanting about him in his deeds, in actions, in what he did in government as a politician, as a public service holder, public office holder. So it's important to remember from where you are as an individual. I've over time adopted one of my values, and I've also shared that with my children, that whatever you do in life, let your work, let yourself speak for you. Not because you have a relationship with somebody, or because you want to change things, or because you want to use an advantage that others don't have, or you want to do things that at the end of the day you are not, you cannot be very forthright about. Right from going to university, my father had the idea of, okay, let's go and study in UI. And I said, no, I don't want to study in UI. I want to study wherever I feel I can, and wherever my results from my university, from my JAM will take me. I've had experience when I was in university where there were issues of water supply to the university, led to a major cry. I was student union leader, approached the university authorities. What do we need to do to solve the problem? I was mandated to provide water supply to the hostel for over almost a month, delivering about 20 trucks of water every day for almost a month or more to the university. At the end of the exercise, some of my colleagues in the university asked me, I said, MK, we hope that you have made a lot of money from this. I said, why will I do that when people are suffering? the reason I got involved is to take people out of the suffering. Why would I take advantage of that? Also in the same period, I was in Student Union as the Secretary General of Dance, and we were approached by government at that time, offered a lot of money, to go silent as Student Union leaders. And I was one of the very few people that turned it down. One of the things I did, which I tell people, is I disappeared from the university for some time so that there was no reason for them to go after me. And so those are things that you want to ask, at that time when we were doing constitutional conference, when politicians were paid a lot of money, we were invited, myself and the president of NANS, were invited at that time, promised all manner of things by government. But we turned it down because we believe that our costs were not in Student Union because we're looking to make money off it. We're in Student Union because we believe in the values of ensuring that the Nigerian education system works and Nigerian students can be better educated wherever they are. So these are some of the personal experiences I have that shape my life going forward. Work experiences, I've been lucky to work in organizations where ethical principles are very critical. UAC is known to be one of the most ethical organizations in Nigeria, where your work speaks for you. And all through the several positions that I did, that I exposed to a lot of things, the people before me in some of the jobs that I did were dismissed for corrupt practices. I was in sales and marketing, where the previous people in that position were, selling vehicles to themselves, taking the money and not bringing the money back to the company. I was in after sales, where I had the responsibility of setting up service centers across Nigeria. Not because I was not approached or offered incentives or things by people, but I believe that professionalism is critical, and whatever I'm asked to do, I don't believe in today, I believe in tomorrow. And so these are work experiences. I was in another company where items were imported, and when I got in, I discovered that this can be done locally. Why do we need to spend a lot of money importing? There were pressures and threats from people who are importing. Even affected one of our contracts later in my business life. But I was convinced that whatever I was doing at that time was the right thing, and it benefited both the company and the people who are associated with the company, because the idea was for us to reduce the cost of setting up our businesses across Nigeria. And so these are experiences I had upholding ethical values going forward. And when I started the business of facilities management in 2007, 2008 with some of my friends, one of the things we were confronted with at that time was every other person in the industry was doing markup. Markup means that your cost plus, and markup can be in whatever figure, 20, 30%, depending on who you are dealing with. I had back and forth debate with my team, and my emphasis at that time was that we cannot start something that we cannot, as a business and as individuals, be held accountable to without falling short. So if we start the process of making money off, because people at that time were not complaining, people are are doing it and getting away with it. Some of those companies who did it at that time are nowhere to be found today. At least I know about 2 or 3 of them who are doing that. But it took me more than 2 to 3 months of having engagement with the team, because they say, okay, Oga doesn't want us to make money. It's always, and I said, no, this is not about making money. It's about building an institution, an organization that, as you go forward in life, you can look back and say, yes, your work pays you and you are satisfied with what you do. And alhamdulillah, the company has, continued to grow, despite, at that time where people think that you don't make money now, you cannot grow. I've had situations where people have approached us and said, okay, what are you going to give us? We want to give you business, but you must, include us in your plan. And I've flatly, and I tell people today, since we started business in 2007, 2008 as a business, we've never offered anybody any bribe or whatever form, because we don't believe in it. Because we believe that it doesn't, apart from the ethical point of view of it, it also ensure your business have a life. Because the person you are giving bribe today can be removed tomorrow, somebody else comes, it becomes a circle. And I know a lot of people who still do it today, and they are finding it difficult to find their feet. We've had jobs thrown at us. And I remember, last year or 2 years ago, where we participated in a tender, the government institution, and was an RFI, request for information, which we did. We are waiting for the RFQ, which is for us to provide costing and commercials for our submission. Only for us to receive a call and said, okay, you have been awarded the location. We're going to send you a contract, an award letter. So we got a letter giving us a location at 9 million naira. And I asked the guys, so what, we did not quote for this, we did not submit any costing. So what are we doing with, what are you awarding us for? I said, don't worry, there are some local guys that you pay them 150,000 every month, give us 40% of the money, the remaining is yours. And I said, sorry, I'm not interested in such. I returned their letter to them. And there are several such situations where, as an entrepreneur, as a business manager, you will find yourself, may even be as critical as your business depends on it, where if you don't win the contract, if you don't take the contract, people will tell you there's a very big project we participated in 2012, where I got calls from our partners then in South Africa, who told us that, this place we're going, some guys have been there and they're asking them for this and that. Be careful as you go there. And I said, I'm not going to offer anybody. If that contract is going to be, worth doing, we'll put our heads, submit our proposal. If we are successful, we'll do it. If we are not, we were awarded, because the guys who awarded the contract were not based in Nigeria, but were frustrated because we did not, play along with the guys who are in Nigeria, which was very sad. But for us, as a business, it was a huge learning for us to say any of such transactions that we feel we'll find major risk in, we'll take our time to examine before we put our head. But we had no regrets. We achieved our objective as a business, working with the organization, transforming their space, making their place better, making them get certifications they've not gotten in 5 years before we got there. But at the end of the day, we still had to leave the project because of the pressures we're getting, frustrations because we were not aligning with the demand of the guys there. But these are things that you'll be confronted as a business person, and as a Muslim. It's important for you to know that these are not the right things to do. Today we have, every time I was sitting in a discussion about 4 months ago with some people where they were given contracts to do things that never happened and they got paid for it. And the question I asked the guy is that, why do you have to do that? So it doesn't concern him, at least he got paid. And I said, you are creating more problem, because if you do that, next time they will call you for something and you don't know when you get yourself in trouble, apart from the religious components of it. A lot of people we know, when the current government came to power, there were a lot of people who were arrested where their accounts were credited for jobs they never did, and they never complained, they never pushed back, they never said we're not involved. So these are things that you get confronted with, you get to deal with every day in life, running a business, working environment, especially when you are in high risk positions of finance, procurement, business leader, marketing, where there are temptations for you to bend the rules, there are temptations for you to do things, or even lie in your documentation for things we don't have. We've found ourselves in situations where clients have asked for several documentations, which normally some people, we go and doctor it and submit it. On the basis of that, they win a contract. We participated in a bid about 5 years ago, and was a very huge project. At that time, our turnover was not very high. The temptation was for us to, go and do an out of order, accounting documents, submit to the client, and get the contract. And tomorrow it becomes a problem for you to deliver, because what people don't realize is that if you solve one problem, it can lead to creating another. But that only challenges us to do better as a business, to grow our business and continue to expand, so we can take more rather than cut the corners in order to get business and move on. So those are some of the things that you are going to find. And relating with people, I mentioned, for employees is important. As an entrepreneur, as a CEO of a company, as a business leader, and as somebody as a business that is in a service environment where your service delivery is based on your employees and your suppliers, it's important for you not to see your employees as just tools, but as human beings that needs to be catered for and need to be provided for and supported. And as an individual and as a company, one of the things we've done, 2011, we actually gave ourselves the objective of being the best employer in our industry, which we're working towards every year to ensure that we do things differently, we pay better. We find ourselves, I'll give you an example. In 2008, we're working with a bank. We're doing cleaning service, and 6 months or so down, we were 1 year into the contract. They came back to us and said our cost was high, that we're paying our staff more than everybody, that other people were providing cleaning service for them. And I said, unfortunately, I know the company very well. I know their structure of pay. And I asked them, these boys and girls who have been working for you, one, have they done anything wrong since they were working? They said no. Two, your organization, how often do you salary increase? What's your minimum pay in your organization? They were looking at me because I know the company pays increase every 6 months. And they also pay their employees very well. And I said, so you want me to downgrade my employees from 30,000 naira at that time, actually 18,000 naira at that time, to 12,000 naira because other people are doing the same. And I said, sorry, we cannot do that. There are only two options. You ask us to leave or you maintain the contract. And I said, they cannot change. And we left the place. We did not say because we want to maintain the contract, so therefore we have to reduce the salary of our employees. We have to leave the contract and find other jobs for the employees. We find ourselves in a situation where when we're doing negotiations with clients will say, okay, salary of your staff is always, is higher than everybody. And I said, yes, I don't want to, for me, it's important for me to have people in your space, because the work I do is I put employees in space of clients, either their homes or offices or their shops. I don't want to have employees in your space that we have to wait for everybody to support them to be able to do work. You want professionals, you want very skilled people, you must be ready to pay them. And if you are not, we don't negotiate the salary of our employees. We don't go to a client or start a contract in midway. The client says, okay, sorry, salary is too high or cost is too high, I want to reduce costs, go and reduce. We actually either reduce our own or find other means of reducing costs. And during this lockdown, for instance, we have situations where clients have said, we cannot continue to pay what we're paying, go and reduce 10%, some go and reduce 30%, some 50%. It didn't take us to go and reduce our staff salaries. Every employee who works in the company, despite all the challenges of the lockdown, either currently earning what they started with at the beginning of the year, or have even had increases. Because we believe that as a company, you must treat your employees well to get the best out of them. Supporting employees, families beyond just the workspace, apart from the standard requirements that we have as fiduciary responsibility as a company. We also believe that you can support employees beyond just, one of the way we do is to look beyond what the employee is doing today, is to ask the employee, what do you want to do with yourself tomorrow? 2, 3, 4 years down the line, where do you see yourself? We'll find situations where we have encouraged employees to resign and support them to go and start a business of their own. We'll find situations where we have encouraged employees to increase their academic qualification or training supported employees to improve, learning and development for themselves, because we don't believe that, okay, you must sign. We started a professional training certification that will represent an organization in the US recently, and we put a couple of our employees on the scheme. The first set was even 100%, and some people and somebody actually left, 2 months after, getting the certification that we paid about $1,250 for. And people said, well, I've signed a contract with them. So I said, there's no need. You let the person go so that tomorrow you will remember that, yes, this company, impacted my life, and so that he or she can also impact other people's life. And that's our belief in ensuring that we get the best out of our employees we have. And I tell people we have employees who have been in the company for 10 years, 7 years, and more, because they believe, even 15 years, because they believe the business company has supported them over time. And we last year started, focusing on the spouses of our family, and also look at the distance to work, where employees live versus where they work, and see what we can do to ensure the stress doesn't affect their work, and find ways to support their families. For our suppliers, we believe that you are strong as your weakest link. As a business that is focused on service delivery, your suppliers are key. And over time, even though we're not there yet, part of the scheme that we have put in place is to ensure that we support our suppliers to be able to go beyond what they are doing today. Those who don't have accounting system, we're talking to them to help them, establish accounting systems. We don't want to take advantage because, yeah, he doesn't know anything. We can cheat him, we can not pay him, and doesn't have a record to keep. We've had situations where we have said, okay, come and show us, your invoices, come and show us standing that we have not paid you. We find some having challenges. We have our, finance team to go help them, create the documents so that we don't want to be, taking advantage of the fact that you don't have a system, working for you. So those are some of the things we believe in, and which is for us important as a business, and which I said from developing as an individual and all my life, I focus on ensuring that whoever I have dealings with, or interactions with, or relationship with, I relate to them on a trustworthy and ethical level. Even our clients, we'll find situations where we have, going back to our client and said, okay, we charged you 5 naira before, but we have developed this job at 3 naira. So you have a balance of 2 naira to take from us. And for us, it's very important to do that. And I tell my team that you are only building confidence in such person and such clients to tomorrow, if they have other business or bigger businesses, they can, come back to you and say, yeah, these are guys who know what they're doing. During lockdown, for instance, when everybody was still wrapping their head on what to do as a business, we sat and they said, we need to find ways to, reduce the impact of COVID on our clients. And how do we do that? Let's look at the way we work. Let's be more efficient. Let's introduce technology. Let's find ways to reduce excesses. And we did. We went back to a lot of our clients. Okay, for your contract, we're reducing 15%. For your contract, we're reducing 18%. They didn't ask us. But we believe that is our responsibility, because we're in business, we are partners. We must, focus on supporting and assisting them to achieve their own business objective. And a lot of the clients were happy. Some at that time were not ready, came back and said, okay, yeah, let's look at what you've said and see how we can, benefit from, the changes, or understand the changes you have proposed. And now, that impacts our costs. And for us, these are, requirements for dealing with business when it comes to ethical practices. That, as I said, part of the principle is that you don't take advantage. You don't look at situation and say, okay, yeah, I can, get away with murder. I can do whatever way I like, and nobody will know. Someone's going to know tomorrow. I always tell my team, I said, assume today we're dealing with somebody who doesn't know. But 2-3 years down the line, somebody who knows will come there and look at all the information and the documents over there and say, go and call these guys. They've been cheating us since. And I've seen a couple of clients, a couple of companies in our industry who have collapsed because of that. So apart from the fact that you're looking at the religious component, the ethical component, you're also looking at, the future of the business. They can become major risk to the business, and these are things to focus on. And as a company that is in the space where trust is important, the work we do is people organizations, individuals hand over their business to us and hand over their properties, to us to manage. So trust and ethical practices are very important. As a business value, these are two key, driving principles for us. We want to be trusted. We want to be a trustworthy organization to do business with. We want to be ethical. We want you give us, just like Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was described in those days, that you put water in the mouth of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and you go for 10 years, you come back, the temperature will not change. That's the kind of thing we want to do with our clients. We want to be able to say, give Global, give MQ and Esteem this building, this responsibility, this item. You can come back and be sure that they will deliver, they would account for every kobo that we've done, that they've spent. And that's for us is very important as a business. So in closing, for me, these are things that I think we need to focus on as people who are in business or working, to ensuring that it's very important to know that religion is not built on, and I was listening to a program before this started, things must start early in life. So children are exposed to, the values of their parents, the values of the community where they operate. That continues to live with them as they grow up. If they are exposed to wrong values and wrong, environments where people don't, feel trust is important or ethics is useful, they'll find themselves doing things, otherwise in the future. People say people are corrupt because they are greedy. Not necessarily. Some are corrupt because that's the way they've been brought up. Corruption is not only about stealing. Corruption is about ethics, about changing the rule, trying to do things that there is a rule that has been set and you want to do it differently. You want to do it another way without following the rule. And that's the way they've been brought up. So they don't believe in rules and regulations. So, and that is important for people to know that you have to build society from the early stages. I also want to challenge Micah and the other, Muslim Umar out there to go to, schools and educate our kids in Islamic values, not necessarily Islamic schools. There's nothing stopping us from going, doing career talk, around, schools or creates, clubs that are focused on driving the Islamic principles, without even mentioning that, Christian lectures that I've listened to, that they talk about life without talking about Christ. And we need to find ways to communicate the message of Islam in a way that we're not going to lose value of the message we are sending, but we're going to get more people to latch on to what we're saying. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, sir. Jazakumullahu khairan, sir. Okay, so Mariam, go ahead.
Hello. Thank you for that, sir. Are you ready to start taking questions now so I can read them to you?
Right.
So we only have 2 questions. Can I ask that everyone here, if you have any questions, please send it to the chat box or the Q&A box so I can read it out to the speaker. So the first question is, kindly share a few tips on how an entrepreneur can continue to uphold ethical values at the same time survive as a business owner.
Okay. You want to ask the 2, or you want me to answer one after the other?
It's just one, actually. The other one is just a comment. Okay, we have one in the Q&A.
Okay, so
I'll ask them one after the other. So.
Okay, that's fine. So I'll just respond, and I shared an experience during my short talk. It is important to know that business is a marathon. It's not a 100-kilometer race. It's not a dash. So your business does not start at hand today. What's critical for you is to build an institution. And if you build an institution on ethical principles, it may look rough and difficult at the beginning, but I can assure you those are the things that you're going to be able to live on in the future. There are businesses we lost, there are contracts we lost because we don't want to, and for us it's important because we saw that even down the line, those who pay their way to get the contract, get their fingers burnt at the end of the day. So you may look at, everybody's doing it, let me go and do it. No, you don't need to. Adapt to your principle, the ethical in your practices. Inshallah, you'll be surprised at the success you're going to achieve, because there are still people who want to deal with organizations that are ethical, and those are the people in marketing. Who are your customers? So you're not going to be marketing to everybody who is going to create problem for you or is going to use the word tempt you to bend your rules. And even when they do, you can gently tell them, please, I'm sorry, we don't do that in our business. We had a friend actually who was managing a property for a client, and this was 2008, and we were offered to do a business. And during discussion, she asked me and said, okay, what are you going to give me on this? I said, give you care. I don't give anything to anybody, but Christmas time, because you're a Christian, end of the year, we'll give you a Christmas gift that will give everybody, including our directors, suppliers, and what have you, and our staff. And recently we created another thing where we sponsor representative of our clients to go and increase the education in our industry. So we can send them abroad for training. It is not because we're looking for business with them. These are the guys we're already working for. So you don't need to be afraid. That's the key word. You will make business progress despite the challenges. And you must not, because you have temptation, you have pressure, you want to break your principles. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I'll take the next question. I'll read the next question now. Dear Dr. MKO, thank you for enlightening and informative lecture this evening. It's truly educative and your personal experience exemplary. Could you please advise or suggest how someone who has a conflict between his or her ethics, in brackets, culture and religion, with his business organization could manage the conflict, considering that leaving the organization without alternative would be highly challenging and possibly out of option?
Good question. It's just like, what is said in the Quran, what as a Muslim, if you find yourself in a place where you don't have any option, what do you do? So for instance, you don't have water to do ablution. So what are you going to do? It doesn't mean you shouldn't stop you from praying. You use sand to do ablution. So you find yourself in a situation where the business where you work in is unethical, but you're a Muslim who is ethical, who's practicing ethical practices. You can recluse yourself from every transaction. And it may seem extreme that you want to resign, but there's nothing stopping you from asking to leave if after you have engaged the organization to allow you not to be involved in things that are against your faith. Nobody's going to fight you. And I can assure you that you not take time to find another job. What I believe in life is that if you do the right things, things will work well for you. That's my belief. And so if you find yourself in this logjam where you're in an organization and they're making you want to do things you don't want to do, and you find engagement to say, guys, it won't work this way. This is not who I am. This is not aligning with my faith. Please allow me to do it normally. And say, no, you have to. Then you have the option to resign. And if you say, I can leave the business for you, so, and if they said, oh, don't go, if they value your presence and your work in the organization, they may actually say, okay, don't go. This man is an Al-Qaeda, in quotes. His religion is too hard for us. And if they say, no, if you like, you can go, doesn't mean that you're not going to find. If you go for an interview and they ask you, why did you leave the organization you're working for? And don't forget that what I said about who is your client, who are you going to look for? for you to go find a job, you must also do, and a lot of times we don't do, clients do a review of our CV. We don't do a review of the organization we work for. Are they ethical organizations? Do they uphold ethical practices in the organization? If you find yourself working in an organization that, and you leave, if you're doing an interview and you find yourself in an organization that uphold ethical values, and they ask you the question, why did you leave the organization? I said, they were doing things that were un-Islamic, that were unethical, and I cannot continue to do that. I can assure you, without even looking at your CV the second time, the organization is going to hire you. So don't be afraid.
Thank you for that, sir. The next question is, I heard once in an Islamic lecture about the percentage to add on your cost price, but I can't really remember. Can you shed some light on it?
What I've read is 10%, not more than 10%, actually between 10 and 20. But the general principle is not more than 10%. I don't have the reference for it offhand, but I will find and share with Micah, and I'm sure they will be able to put it on the website for you to know. But I've read that, yes, correct, there is and I mentioned it in my talk, that there is a limit to what you can earn as profits on any transaction. And from what I've read, it's between 10 and 20%.
Okay, thank you for that, sir. I think that's all the questions we have. Please, if there's anyone that has any questions, please send them to the chat box. Let's seize this moment that we have with Dr. MKO Balogun. Please, 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 we're aiming to finish at 6 o'clock, so we still have 15 minutes. So if you have any questions, please send them to the chat box. Someone's asking if they can have access to the slides. Would you be willing to share your slides?
I will share it. I will send it to Micah, and Micah can share it.
Okay, thank you for that, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's give it 1-2 minutes and see if there's any more questions. Okay, we have questions in the Q&A. So as a young Muslim man or lady, your religion comes first ethically. The love of your life, not a Muslim, what do you suggest on how to navigate this? Okay, so I think the person is trying to say, as a young Muslim man or woman, their religion comes first. And if they had a partner that was not a Muslim, how do you navigate that?
This is not a lecture about marriage. This is about ethics, but I believe that Islamic laws and principles that guides marriage and marriage between Muslim and non-Muslim. I'm not an authority in that, so I will not be able to make the appropriate comments, but I don't think there is anything wrong in marrying a non-Muslim. What I know Islam, the Quran has said about it is provided two of you can live well, and as Nigerians, you find yourself in situations where you are, for instance, in the western part of Nigeria, you have a mix of Christians and Muslims, and you have a lot of intermarriage between Muslims and Christians. If the person is a man and marrying a Christian lady, my suggestion, as I say, I'm not an authority on Islamic on marriage in Islam, but my suggestion is to first provide all the details and knowledge about Islam to your spouse. Let the spouse, before you get married at all, let the person understand the principle of Islam. Let the person say, yes, I understand and I agree. You are not forcing the person to become a Muslim because the person wants to marry you, but you are encouraging the person to have an understanding of the religion that you practice before two of you get married. And this is very important because I know you can't rule it the way that you're going to have a Muslim Christian interaction for young people, but most times we don't lay the foundation of understanding before it becomes, we use love above understanding of religion. Yeah, you said really Islam is important, but most times we are blinded by, okay, I love her, or she loves me, and so therefore nothing else will happen. But first is that two of you must understand what you're getting into in terms of principles of your religion. Let the person understand your religion. If you're the lady, which is the higher risk, because you can find yourself in a situation where the brother wants to, your fiancé wants to convert you to Christianity. You must also let him know that you are not in a marriage because you want to have a conversion of religion. You are in a marriage because you appreciate and love him. And so therefore, two of you must agree on how to deal with that. These are my own personal opinions. Has nothing to do with Islamic. If my son comes to me today and has this dilemma, this is what I'm going to advise him.
Thank you for that. There's a question that is piggybacking off a previous question that you've answered, and it says that you said 10% is what is advisable to add to your cost price. So this person is asking, does it include buying and selling? And if yes, any backing from the Quran or Hadith?
Does it include what?
Does it include buying and selling? And if yes, any backing from the Quran and Hadith?
Yes, it includes buying and selling. As I stated, I don't have the reference in my head as we speak, but I'll provide it. I've read it recently. I can find the reference and provide it to Micah, but I'm sure that I've seen that, yes, buying and selling inclusive.
Okay, thank you for that. The next question is, it seems quite difficult, especially when you deal with government organizations. Everybody wants something before they process your documentation. How do you manage such situations?
So it is not only government establishments, including private. And I said, we actually don't do government business today as a matter of principle because of our ethical principles. Because we know that doing any government business may lead us into temptation. And we don't want to get ourselves involved in that. So we don't do government business. However, anytime you find yourself in such ethical dilemmas, please stick to your ethical principles. It may delay your transaction, it may lead you not to be able to get whatever you want to get, but you'll be satisfied at the end of the day that yes, I have stood my ground on what I believe in, what I'm comfortable with, and nothing will change that. I said, as a business, since we started, we had 2 transactions with government. One of them in Lagos State, one of them in Ogun State, and they were regrettable. We didn't pay bribe, but we didn't get our money back for jobs we did. So, and we don't want to go, start begging for somebody to give us our money and using money to collect money. So, as a business, we took that decision to say anything government. Yeah, people say government is the biggest spender, is a place where you're going to get a lot of money, but at the same place you can get messed up, you can get yourself into trouble, both religiously and personally. That's my advice.
Thank you for that response. Okay, we have another question that says, how do you manage ethics in the midst of ridiculous and multiple taxation in Nigeria?
There's nothing stopping you from managing ethics because there are multiple transitions. So what do you want to do? You want to circumvent the taxation because you want to survive business? No. There are legitimate taxes. Any tax that we are paying today, people complain, it's multiple, state charges you, federal charges you, whatever it is, but they are still legitimate. You cannot say, okay, you don't want to pay, go and pay bribe so that they can reduce your tax or cut off your tax. You don't want to do that. It's important anytime you put yourself in. So for instance, when federal government created VATs, before they actually created VATs, a lot of approaches from the Federal Revenue for organizations to come negotiate their taxes down so that they can have reduction. But it doesn't solve your problem at the end of the day because somebody tomorrow can go and dig up the file after you think that you have sorted yourself out and go and dig up your file and find out that despite your paid bribe to somebody to keep the file or give you a good letter, those outstandings are still there and you still have to pay it. So it's important to just, any tax we are doing today, except it changes tomorrow by government, they are still legitimate. Yes, there are multiple Yes, they are difficult to beat as a business, but because they are legitimate, because they are legal, we are ethically bound to fulfill them.
Okay, thank you for that. I think we have 2 questions left, so we'll just go through those ones. The next question says, Assalamu alaikum, sir. Jazakumullah khairan for the lecture. Please, how can someone start a small halal business without a capital, especially when the only available source of fund is a loan with interest?
There are multiple organizations that are providing halal funding. There are those who are even providing grants that are not loan-based, give you money depending on the kind of business you want to start. And there are, Muslim institutional banks today, halal banks today, where you can get, grants or loans that are not tied to usury for your business. So I will encourage the person to search. You can, I'll speak with Micah later after the program. I can give them some links of some organizations that they can put on their website so that members or friends of members or families of members who are looking for such opportunities can find them.
Okay, thank you for that, sir. So we have another question here. Someone's asking, after doing a market survey and the price you got is above your planned selling price, what would you advise? So I think this person is saying, if you do a market survey and the price that your consumers are suggesting that they are willing to pay is higher than what you initially wanted to charge, so maybe above the 10% that you have suggested, what would you advise?
You charge them what is appropriate. That's why I give example. So if you have offered somebody to pay 100 naira before, but you discover that the other product actually can be sold at 70 naira, then and you see make profit. So sell it at 70 naira.
Thank you. Last question is it allowed to indulge in hire purchase business? For example, buy a bike, add some amount as profit and give it out to a rider on installmental payments?
Yes, I think I'm not an authority on Islamic jurisprudence, but I don't think it's out of place to do hire purchase. I don't think it's un-Islamic. It's a business transaction. What you do is that you have bought a product, or a vehicle, or a keke, or bike, or whatever it is, you give somebody to bring you back money. And you agree with the person how much the person will return over a period of time for the person to own the vehicle or to own the equipment. What is important is that whatever you are charging is not above board, it's not above normal. And it's a business transaction. Any business transaction must follow the 10 principles that are put up. Must be allowed, must be mutual consent, must be truthful and trustworthy in your transactions, must be generous. So even if the person cannot meet up your demand, you don't need to. And I've had transactions where I've given somebody same thing you talked about, and up to now the person is not even able to pay back. And I'm not worried about that because I believe that you have just helped somebody to survive rather than focus on the business component. So for me, the answer is there's no need for you to, yes, it's allowed, but what is important is that whatever you are charging, whatever the profit you want to make must be in line with what is expected in Islam.
Okay, thank you for that. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. Thank you for the insightful slides that you have shared. May Allah continue to bless you and enrich you in knowledge and in all other forms. Can I ask that you please say a prayer for us before you leave us today?
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله الحمد لله الحمد لله الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم اهدنا الصراط المستقيم اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was an amazing session. We can now